Word of a new tactic from Al-Qaeda, the terror group now turning to the use of female homicide bombers, maybe even pregnant women. Intelligence officials are saying that Al-Qaeda hopes to take advantage of social sensitivities that might hinder the detection of these bombers. How concerned do we need to be? How many other ideas do they have? What threat level should our country be at? Peter King is a Republican congressman from New York, ranking member of the House Homeland Security Committee, and he's joining us now. Congressman King, thanks for being with us and making time for us today.
Thank you, Jamie.
When people hear that the UK raises their terror level to a level that a threat or attack is highly likely, what does that mean for the United States when we know on Christmas Day the would-be bomber started in Europe and came to the United States?
Jamie, I think that the British have raised their threat level primarily for reasons that are within Britain. The fact they have a conference coming up in Afghanistan, which has aroused a lot of anger in the Islamic terrorist community. But the reality is whatever affects Britain also affects us. So I can tell you that our people across the country and around the world are on guard. There's no need to raise our threat level per se, but whenever a close ally such as Britain raises their level, obviously we have to be aware of that and we have to be extra cautious.
Are we extra cautious now for beyond? And, you know, on the one hand, many people are critical of profiling. But now you hear that there could be people that don't look like a typical bomber, a pregnant woman, someone with a Western passport. Are we alert to all kinds of people that might be planning something against the United States?
Jamie, part of the challenge is we have to try to stay ahead of the terrorists. We know that they are constantly adapting, and we have to be trying to adapt ahead of them. Like, for instance, with the women or pregnant women, even going back to February of 2008, the Department of Homeland Security put out an advisory on that, saying that you would have women, even Western-looking women, wearing prosthetic devices to make them look pregnant, and they could be actually suicide bombers. But I think in view of what happened on the Christmas Day bombing, and in view of the fact that we do believe that other attacks could be coming, we have to be extra cautious and looking, again, for women, for looking for not the traditional Islamic terrorists we've come to think of, but also people who could be Muslim converts. They could be from Western countries. So we have to do everything we've been doing up till now, but we also have to expand and adapt.
Do we have intelligence that Al-Qaeda is expanding their recruiting effort to women, and do we know that women are training in places like Yemen?
Well, there's no doubt that going back several years that Al-Qaeda has been recruiting women, has been training women. We even had that horrible instance in Iraq several years ago when you had women with Down syndrome who were used as suicide bombers. And now we have reason to believe in the last year or so, 2 years, that yes, there has been an increase in recruiting women. And again, this is going to be part of the constantly adapting war that we're in. So we have to be, again, careful, very careful, and we have to be not just looking at, what I consider the usual suspects.
But we're 1 month after the Christmas Day attempt to blow up an airplane filled with passengers. 1 month. And we know there have been some hearings in Washington on aviation security and that particular incident and the incident at Fort Hood. But have any changes been made? Are we reacting quick enough to stay ahead of Al-Qaeda like you've mentioned we need to?
Jamie, one thing I've noticed this week with the hearings, and my committee, the Homeland Security Committee, will have a hearing this coming Wednesday. What I've noticed is there seems to be a real disorganization, almost disarray in the administration. There are fingers being pointed. You have one official being critical of the policies they carry out, another official being critical of something else. So there is, I think there's so much disarray right now. They're not speaking with one voice. One positive change, I believe, is that now we have, I believe, 14 countries where there are going to be secondary screenings. There are going to be more pat-downs. And 13 of those countries are Muslim countries. The other one is Cuba. And for an administration which says it's so much against profiling, in effect, this is profiling. I support it. I believe it's the right thing to do. And I think we should even be looking at the visas of people coming from those countries. But, you mentioned aviation. There is still no head of the TSA, where it is more than a year into the administration. The TSA, which has jurisdiction over airline security, that position is still vacant. And I know that Democrats say Republicans held up the appointment. The fact is, I don't think anyone was even nominated for that job until August. And now, as we've seen, the nominee had severe flaws which required him to withdraw.
Congressman King, you answered my last question, too, about potential tightening of the visas. As we know, the Christmas Day alleged bomber had a very long-term visa, and that's something that will be looked at, that you support as well, and also Charles Schumer does, too, so it's both sides of the aisle. Yes. Thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Jamie.
Okay. Back to Haiti now, and 11 days after the earthquake.